Rush, Revere, and the Brave Pilgrims. A note from the author. We live in the greatest country on earth, the United States of America. But what makes it so great? Why do some call the United States a miracle? How did we become such a tremendous country in such a short period of time? After all, the United States is less than 250 years old. I want to try to help you understand what American exceptionalism and greatness is all about. It does not mean that we Americans are better than anyone else. It does not mean that there is something uniquely different about us as human beings compared to other people in the world. It does not mean that we as a country have never faced problems of our own. American exceptionalism and greatness means that America is special because it is different from all other countries in history. It is a land built on true freedom and individual liberty, and it defends both around the world. The role of the United States is to encourage individuals to be the best that they can be, to try to improve their lives, reach their goals, and make their dreams come true. In most parts of the world, dreams never become more than dreams. In the United States, they come true every day. There are so many stories of Americans who started with very little, yet they dreamed big, worked hard, and became extremely successful. The sad reality is that since the beginning of time, most citizens of the world have not been free. For hundreds and thousands of years, many people in other civilizations and countries were servants to their kings and leaders in government. It didn't matter how hard these people worked to improve their lives, because their lives were not their own. They often feared for their lives and could not get out from under a ruling class no matter how hard they tried. Many of these people lived and continue to live in extreme poverty, with no clean water, limited food, and none of the luxuries that we often take for granted. Many citizens in the world were punished, sometimes severely, for having their own ideas, beliefs, and hopes for a better future. The United States of America is unique because it is the exception to all this. Our country is the first country ever in history to be founded on the principle that all human beings are created as free people. The founders of this phenomenal country believed all people were born to be free as individuals. And so, they established a government and leadership that recognized and established this for the very first time ever in the world. America is a place where the individual person serves himself and his family, not the king, not the ruling class, and not the government. America is a place where you can think, believe, and express yourself as you want. You can dream as big as you can, and nothing is holding you back. This book on the Pilgrims is part of the great tale of how the United States of America came to be. The Pilgrims came to our shores more than a century and a half before our country was established in 1776. But their reasons for coming to the New World helped to sow the seeds of our nation. The story of the Pilgrims and their arrival in the New World has been taught for hundreds of years, and in that time, the story has been tweaked and changed by people to the point that it is often misunderstood. I want you to know the real story, what really happened, who the Pilgrims really were, and what they did when they arrived. Let me introduce you to my good buddy, Rush Revere. Together, we are going to rush into history and the story of the Pilgrims. Prologue. So this is a little bit of the story before we start the real book. It's going to give you an idea of the characters and where this story is going. Okay. The sea was wide, cold, and blustery. The large wooden ship rocked hard against the rolling waves. I'd been on the Mayflower for only 30 minutes, but already my head was leaning over the side just in case I had to feed the fish. Water splashed up from the side of the hull and then rained down upon the deck. "You there!" a voice shouted from nearby. I turned around to see a sailor staring and pointing in my direction. He was a couple of inches taller than me. His shoulders were broad and his beard was black and scraggly, with a thin scar above his cheek. "That's right. I'm talking to you. Get your landlubber legs over here and below deck." Couldn't this sailor see that I was in no position to move, let alone walk across the ship, when the deck felt like a washing machine with the spin cycle on extra high? No, of course not. For starters, washing machines didn't exist in the year 1620. I turned back toward the sea as another wave of nausea swelled inside me. Maybe my decision to teleport aboard the Mayflower and journey with the Pilgrims hadn't been such a good idea after all. In fact, maybe now would be a good time to time jump back to modern day America and get some seasickness pills. Yes, that's it. I could get the pills, stabilize my motion sickness, and then return before the ship reached the New World. Suddenly, someone grabbed my arm and spun me around. I nearly jumped into the water when the large sailor shouted directly into my face. "Arr, the whole lot of ya makes me sick," he said. "We should throw all you saints overboard. What's your name?" Saints? This was not my first encounter with someone from the past. Although I was feeling extremely queasy, I tipped my hat and introduced myself while trying not to fall over. "I'm not a saint or a separatist. I'm Rush Revere," I said. "I'm a history teacher from the 21st century. I've come to—" "The 21st century? Ah, blimey, you're mad. The whole lot of you. You think I care if you make it to New England?" The sailor laughed, "Ha, ha, ha," as he pushed his face into mine and said, "I don't. In fact, I'd rather feed you to the sharks and be done with you." His breath smelled foul, like rotten fish. Ooh, I gagged, and suddenly I vomited as the boat lurched to the side and sent me face first into the unsuspecting sailor. We tumbled to the deck, and I rolled up against the railing. I sat up, realizing, that I felt a great deal better. Unfortunately, I couldn't say the same thing about Stinky Fish Breath. He was covered from head to toe in my regurgitated lunch. "Arr! Ya puked all over me, ya piece of scum! I'll throw you overboard!" He scrambled to his feet and charged at me like a bull targeting a matador. My horse, Liberty, was aboard the Mayflower, somewhere. "Liberty!" I yelled, stumbling backward. I could use a little help here." Now look, I know what you're thinking. What's a horse doing on the deck of the Mayflower in the middle of a storm-tossed sea? Good question. The truth is, my Liberty is no ordinary horse. The ship rocked back and forth as water surged again over its bow and crashed down on the deck as if a large waterfall had been turned on and off. The sailor was only a few feet away and closing fast. I scanned the length of the Mayflower, searching high and low. Another rush of water nearly swept me off my feet. I looked down to see a large fish flopping around. The boat rocked again, and the fish slid right between the legs of the sailor. Not a bad idea, I thought. Right before the sailor grabbed me, I dove headfirst through his legs. For a split second, I thought I was through and beyond his grasp. The sailor's beefy hand grabbed my leg, then my coat. Then he hoisted me up by the collar. "I hope you can swim," yelled Fish Breath. From over his shoulder, I finally spotted what I had been searching for. "And I hope you can fly," Liberty replied to him. Oh yes, Liberty can talk. I told you he wasn't an ordinary horse. Before the man could even turn around to see who had spoken, Liberty kicked his hind legs and sent the sailor sailing high into the air, and then he fell into a web of nets. "Perfect shot," Liberty said. "You appeared in the nick of time," I said, kind of starting to feel sick again. "Leaping to the Mayflower in the middle of a storm wasn't my idea," Liberty said, speaking very fast. Yes, I can leap to different times in American history, but I'm not a weatherman, and horses don't like boats. There's an awful lot of water surrounding us, and this constant rocking back and forth and back and forth, well, it's just making me hungry. Liberty turned his neck from side to side as if he was searching for the nearest feed bag. Do you know where we can get some food around here? Oh, I slipped onto Liberty's saddle and said, please, let's not talk about food right now. I need you to open the time portal. Back to the future? Liberty grinned. Yes, back to modern day America, please. Just try not to leap us into a tornado. Liberty started galloping and yelled, rush, rush, rushing from history. A swirling circle of gold and purple appeared on the deck of the Mayflower. As it grew bigger, Liberty bolted for the center and jumped through. We were back in modern day America.